Hello, welcome to Brew number 33 from the Brew from the Bothy podcast. That sounded like an odd sentence structure, sorry. I hope this isn't the form of what's coming. My name is Fay, I'm coming to you from Cheshire in England, and I am a crochet predominantly, but a little bit of knitwear designer, and I love chatting all things yarn while I have a little brew with you. You're very welcome. Hopefully you've got a brew too and you're going to sit with me through the podcast. Again, weird, but we're going to keep on rolling with it. I've got quite a lot to tell you today. There's a bit of crochet stuff, a finished project, a design that's available for you free of charge, and a blanket. The discount code is still rolling, which I will tell you about. That goes on until Sunday night. Hopefully you can't hear that plane that's going overhead. Maybe you can, and all the birds, because my door is flung wide open. It's very hot here today. I also have a little sneaky trick for you, which involves a piece of Perspex, which is a great little hack. And I've got a finished cardigan to show you as well, which I would wear for I am wearing, but it's too flaming hot, and I just need aerated oxters right now, not wool on me. And then a little thing that I think I might want to make as my next knitted cast on. And also some incoming wool. Let's crack on, that's a lot to talk through. So let's start with Off My Hook. Now, you have technically seen this before. This is my Pebble spotter blanket. I made it a few months ago. It's made out of an Aran weight wool, which is wild wool by King Cole. It is 100% recycled wool, which I love, and the colours are stone, ice, and what's the other one? Stone, ice, snow. I quite like the simplicity of that making up of names, like, why over-egg it if you can go really simple. 2 simple stitches, easy row repeat, easy border, which is made out of waistcoat stitch, which if you don't love waistcoat stitch you can swap out for double crochet, but I would dearly love to get everybody to love waistcoat stitch as much as I do. It's not as difficult as you think it might be. It's all to do with the hook that you use. You need a right old pointy hook for waistcoat stitch. So this one is done, but the reason I'm showing it to you is because Deb and I worked to get it tech edited last week, and it's now available up on my blog for free. And there is also a paid for PDF on Ravelry and Etsy and on my Provenance Craft Co site. But if you want a quick freebie pattern ready to work up, and it does work up really quickly, it's available for free on the blog. I'll pop link for it down below to my FayDH website, and you need about 730 grams of an Aran weight yarn. I said wildwood, that comes in at 190 meters, 207 yards per 100 grams, and I've broken it down for the different colors. So if you wanted to scrap bust for it, I tell you what you need in each of the colors, but you could just make it really scrappy as well. So available for free off my hook, although a little while ago, but I kind of feel like designs aren't really off my hook until they've gone through tech editing, and I've got them up on the site for download. Pebble spotter. It's actually perfect. The photos I took for that were down on a very pebbly beach. Like, I had a thought process going on with my best friend's youngest. He was my little model for the day, and it was like the perfect size blanket for a picnic, but also for like wrapping yourself up on the beach or a little chilly day. It worked really well, so I was pleased with the photography, and I'm really pleased with the overall look of it and how the pattern worked up as well. So Pebble spotter done, available. I'll link it out for you. The next thing that is on my hook is another blanket, which seems ridiculous because yesterday it was 32 degrees where I am in the UK, and like working on a wool blanket seems ridiculous, but I'm at the very beginning of it, so it wasn't like I had masses of wool on me. So I'm going to show you what the original is, and then I'll show you how I'm kind of remaking it. This is easily my best-selling blanket. It is called the Stormy Rainbow Blanket. I absolutely love it. This sits to the side of me in our living room and brings a blip of colour against all of the teal. It uses 4-ply, and I've long wanted to make a chunkier weight version of this, simplified, pared right back, with an Aran weight. And I got the wool in a few months ago. I showed you it when it came in. And it is an Intarsia blanket, but it is like the most simple crochet Intarsia you can get. You only need 3 balls of yarn on the go at any given time. So Stormy Rainbow needed a remake. It's not that I'm going to rejig all of the pattern, but I will add the information that I'm pulling together as like a modifications document that will go out to everybody that's already bought the pattern. Go out with the new pattern that says, if you want to make it in Aran, this is what you'll need, and show some of the photographs of how it looked in the end. So let me show you what I am making with, and let's make sure I don't like muck up all my little balls of yarn. So yeah, 3 balls of yarn, and I am using Drops Charisma for this. Oh, that is showing up better this time. So this is colour 75, and you can this time I think see that there is actually quite a good halo of pink in there, and it is the exact same pink that I'm putting in as my first stripe. So that's ball number 1, that stays. And then ball number 2 is the pink, and that will be used as my first colour stripe sequence. And then ball number 3 is the other side. So the border is effectively being worked up at the same time. And that basically, that ball sits there until I come back and need to do this final 20 stitches here that we've got. And that's how the Intarsia works. There's just one little change that you have to make with the Intarsia, which is around how you change the colour on a wrong side row, but it's really easy, and it's just about pulling the yarn that you're leaving behind to the back and your new yarn to the front, so you're always working the yarns on the right side of the work, and when you're not using them they sit on the wrong side, and that's it. That's as simple as Intarsia gets. So if you've never tried Intarsia crochet and you want to have a go, this is like a really good option for you. Let me show you what the third colour is. Can you guess what colour it is? Is it the colour I use for everything? Yeah, it's a bluey petrol teal. Look, kind of matches my top today as well. So this will be the third stripe that will be worked in, and again that colour is represented in the main colour. So this is a blanket that I'm making for my best friend, for Jenny. She loves these colours, and she's just got herself a new crafting chair in her living room, which is kind of this colour. So I feel like this will all blend really nicely with her space and give her a little snuggle blanket. She's often cold, and even like in the middle of summer she would be under a blanket sometimes. So I haven't done a load with it, but each row is 190 stitches, so it's not exactly a quick project, but I'll keep on trucking with it, because it's not done in sections. So it will get to a point where in the middle of the summer I'm just underneath an Aran weight blanket, but I have to get this done before Christmas, and so I will keep on trucking. I am also trying, last podcast I showed you these little cat stitch markers that I was testing out, and while I was up in Lancaster last week I also finally managed to get hold of some of the I think they're the Cocoa Knits ones, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, the Cocoa Knits crochet stitch markers, Again, they're made from metal and they've got the little blob in them. So I thought I'd try these because these might be more readily available for some of you. And they'll work on knitting as well for marking wrong side, right side, or for progress. So I'm giving them a little whirl so I can tell you whether they're any good in my work too. So that is Stormy Rainbow. That is progress so far. I will keep on cracking on with it and enjoy working with these lovely colours. I'm using, just as an FYI, a 4.5mm US 7 hook on that for what is essentially an Aran weight yarn. Drops Charisma comes in at 200 metres, 219 yards per 100 grams, but it's sold in 50-gram balls, and it's 100% wool as well, and the price point is really decent on it. I would always want a wool blanket just because it's so much warmer, and you don't have to spend a fortune on wool for a blanket. It can be cheaper. So Pebble Spotter, the Wildwood is only, I think it's £4.20 is the kind of the cheapest general price I can get it for. I think I paid slightly less for that on sale at Black Sheep Wools, but that whole blanket cost £33.60. Like, that's really affordable for the size of it. It's a decent lapgan size. This will probably be coming out roughly the same price, because Drops Charisma is a decent price point as well, and you can often pick it up for on sale at Wool Warehouse and various other vendors. So progress will be made. Wool blankets in the summer. This is the joy of making blankets for Christmas. Let me show you what is off my needles, which is my twist cardigan. I really love it, but like I say, it's just too hot today. So let me scoot back and show you on. But also note that I have got on a top which has got like a satin effect to it. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. I love wearing a top like this when I'm going to wear something that is yarn based on the top of me. It makes the wool slide and slip, and it feels really good when you're wearing it, and it stops, I think sometimes wool can kind of suck onto your body, and like for me, my boobs really cling around my boobs even if I've got positive ease. And what I find is wearing a top like this with a bit of sheen, it's not proper satin, but it's a satin feel top. It just makes everything swish around my body and feel really good. So I thoroughly recommend wearing a top like this under your yarn based clothing. So Twist Cardigan by Ambah Aran. I have made it in John Arbon Textiles knit by numbers, and I've got two variations of that. Everything from the top down to this stripe here is in their old blend, which was 100% Falklands Merino, and everything down up the bottom band and from the sleeves from this point down is in their new blend, which is 50% Falklands Merino and 50% British Bluefaced Leicester. I actually prefer this one. It's just got a little bit more life to it. This is softy soft up on the top, which is lovely, but there will be a really good test on this because this bit is going to pill more than this bit, which means that my underarms, there should be less pilling, which is perfect. That's what I want. But really like the cardigan. I like that it kind of dips up a little bit at the front. I like the length that I got on the back of it. I love all of that detail on the back and the way that it comes down. And what's really interesting, which had I thought about it, I could have figured it out, but because you are working down to this point before you join in the round to work on the sleeves, you're essentially working the sleeves on the bias. So when you get down to more or less the bottom, you then have to do some more short row shaping to pull it down and create extra length down at the back, which I really like. I've never done a cardigan or a construction like that before. It's pretty much all worked on the bias. I like the sleeve length that I got. I added an extra 12 rows to my sleeve length. I am quite long limbed, and that is probably the point that I usually have to change the most on designs, is to get extra length into the sleeves. But I added 12 rows there, and I took off 5 rows of rib because I didn't want such a long rib. I quite like the fact that the cuff is the size that it is, and it kind of mirrors a little more what I've got going on here. Really like the pattern. I like that you've got this kind of spine that runs down on the, it's a set of central double decrease that runs down the inside, and equally you've got the spine that runs down the length of the arm at the top, and it mirrors the spine that you've got down the centre of the back as well. Really nice little details that have been pulled into this. The only thing that I think I need to change is the way that you pick up here, because you work this ribbing down at the bottom around, and then you pick up to work the ball band. I'm not keen on how much space I've got down here, and I think all I'm going to do is put in some duplicate stitches over here so that there is a less obvious amount of pattern here, and I can just duplicate stitch down there just to neaten it off a little bit. And I will do the same on the other side, and I'm hoping what that will do is then just neaten this up a little bit and pull this side down a little bit, and that's it. Very wearable little cover up. I really love the stripes. I love the colours that I chose. I could have been a bit bolder and brighter, but it's just not me. I'm just loving the teal in this. So, twist cardigan, Ambah O'Brien, and I used 4 colours of Knit by Numbers by John Arbon Textiles, all in the drop down below. Just so much fun to knit and really engaging, and I think I made that in about 4 weeks. Not that that's a test of power or anything, because I'm all for slow, conscious crafting, but we have just had a bank holiday weekend in the UK, and I spent a decent amount of time under our umbrella sipping cider. No alcohol cider, because I've had previous with alcohol and shonky knitting, but I basically finished this up at the weekend because I really wanted to be able to put my work into it. So really pleased with that cardigan, and I think I will get a lot of wear. I genuinely think it's one of my favourite makes from somebody else's pattern. Hopefully you like it too. What that leaves me with though, and therefore I think coming on to my needles, is I have got quite a lot of my teal yarn left over, and I was contemplating making just a stripy sleeveless top with it that I could wear underneath that, but might be a bit much. But I want to use up all of these scraps of yarn, or as much of them as I can, and I really love those colours on me. Like, these are colours I can do, and I really enjoy wearing them, and I feel really confident in them as well. So I want to make a top, and I proclaimed at the beginning of the year that this is going to be the year of getting better at colour work techniques. And you might remember I showed you that I'd bought this book at the back end of last year, Intarsia Knits by Husemann. There was a top that I really liked, and it is this one. It's called the Between Ebb and Flow top, and I'm thinking I might make that with the 4 colours that I've got left over. But true to form for me, I might change it up a little bit, only because I can't, now I've seen it, I can't unsee it. I think with the size of chest that I've got, if my panel looks like that, or like this one, it's just really going to accentuate droopy boobs. So my thought is I'm actually going to do this panel maybe times 4 times, change it up a little bit, but that 4 times, so 2 panels for the front, 2 panels for the back, because that I can't unsee it as a droopy boob. So I can't make that. But this one I love, and I love the slightly more geometric design of it. I also think it might look good underneath that as well. If not, it'll just be a really nice top in its own right. So I need 4 colours. I'm pretty sure I've got the right amount. I'm pretty sure it's the right yarn. Maybe need to check that. If not, I can mix it around a little bit. It does need a 4-ply, but I think I'm going to cast this on and try and up my game on my Intarsia. I think it's quite an easy Intarsia project. It's like the equivalent of my Stormy Rainbow crochet Intarsia project. It's just that I'm gonna fiddle with the numbers because I can't help myself. But I can't unsee a droopy boob. And I won't wear it if I think it looks like a droopy boob. No issues with droopy boobs. I just don't need to accentuate mine. Gravity is taking its toll on them, and they're quite large, and I don't need to make it more obvious. So I don't know when I'm going to cast that on. I've got a little sock project that I'd like to finish first, but I haven't made any progress on it from last time. So I might use the sock project as a palette cleanser because it's very bright, and then come back to my lovely beautiful teals for that ebb and flow top. And that will also feel like I'm like ticking off one of those colour work boxes that I wanted. That's it for potentially on my needles. Next up, I've got a little tip and trick for you. Somebody bought something similar on the internet and they were showing it off on Instagram, and I thought this was going to be smaller, but I bought myself a colour wheel. I have a really big one, but with this one I love the fact that it had the triangle, so it very clearly points to which other colours you can use. What I was actually hoping was that this was going to be teeny weeny and it would fit in my purse and I could take it to yarn shops with me. That didn't happen. So if anybody knows of a smaller one that I could literally fold up and keep in my purse, that would be really helpful. This version is the So Easy colour wheel, so if you struggle choosing colours, which sometimes I do, this is a really good option, and it goes through your primary, secondary and tertiary colours as well. This is what you're looking for, but I'll pop a link into it. But when it arrived, there was also this little bit of Perspex, which I wasn't expecting, and I was like, well, what are you for? Then I finally read the back of the packaging, and it's magic. It basically gives you the shade and tone values between different colours. So previously I would have said take a monochromatic photo, and that will tell you whether the shade values are enough between the different yarns that you're creating. So let me show you this as an option. Can you see, and I'm trying to do this without the light, can you see that there's quite a decent amount of shade range between the one that is above and below that dark colour? It's really decent. But if I move that down, I'm completely missing it in these 3 colours. They're pretty much reading as one colour, which is how they would read from further away. You don't get enough distinction with it. So this little tool is really handy. I know I'm keeping this in my purse because it's much easier than taking photos in a yarn shop and the faff of doing that. I can just pull this out and work out whether I have got enough distinction between the yarn colours I'm choosing or not. And then I thought, well, if I can have that in my purse, wouldn't it just be really handy to have a bigger sheet, which if I'm mapping out loads of different designs, I can just lay it on top of the colours and double check my colour sequences. So I went to eBay and I got a sheet of, it's an A4 sheet of red acrylic or Perspex is what you're after, and it needs to be roughly 3 to 5 millimeters in depth. That is enough for the colours to read through. and for you to actually see the shade and hue values that are within the yarn that you're working with. This is like particularly important if you're going to do colour work like Fay and I, because you need to be able to read the colours to be able to read the pattern, especially some of the more intricate patterns. But actually, this is just really helpful to have when you're choosing yarn for a project. And let me show you. Like, I have no issues with this and what I did on my twist cardigan, but I thought this was really interesting when I tested it today. There's basically no distinction. Let's see if I can pull this up closer for you. There is no distinction in all of those different teal colours that I got. I know you're kind of getting my reflection, but there is literally no read in difference across any of the colours at all, and they're all just reading as dark. Not an issue for me because that's kind of what I wanted. I wanted it to blend, but if I wanted that to be more distinctive, I couldn't have gone with those colours. It wouldn't have worked. Let's see if I can do it. It's very subtle, but you can see it there with the colour wheel, how you're getting those different distinctions across all of the colours. I think this cost something like £6. And like I say, it's really handy when I'm choosing colours. I'm also using this as a designer. Top tip, if you're a designer as well, if I'm doing something like a colour work chart for a pattern, one of the things that my tech editor Deb often comes back is she'll say your grayscale isn't strong enough from the different colours that you're using. So if somebody prints it off in black and white, they're not going to see the difference in the colours. So I can actually create my pattern in Canva, pull the colours together, put this up against my screen and quickly check whether my colours have got enough separation between them or not, and then change them so that if you buy my pattern at home and you print it off black and white, I can make sure that your colour charts have got enough distinction that you'll actually be able to read them, because not everybody prints off in colour. Love it. Such a great hack for something that I absolutely dismissed and was like, hey, what are you doing in the envelope? And then I just went straight out and bought another one. Really handy to keep in your purse. You can see how well it works with even across my forehead, how well this works with the shade and tone distinction. I absolutely love a little hack like that. Anything to make life quicker and easier where it's bringing like true value. I love it. I'll pop a link in for the colour wheel that I got because that's really helpful as well, and the details for the Perspex. I won't tell you where to go for it. Literally eBay, Etsy, you will find it. Don't pay a lot of money for it, you just have to search around. I saw some that were like £30 and I was not going to pay £30 for a sheet of A4, but you can get it cheaper. You just need to dig into the internet to find one. Right, let me have a slurp and then we're going to go through the yarn that I have purchased when I was in Lancaster. So I headed up to Lancaster for Kate at Northern Yarn's 10th birthday. Her shop has been open for 10 years and it was just something lovely to go and do. A couple of my friends, Sam and Bex, came up as well. We all went up on the train from Crewe, and I'm going to say hello to Melanie, who I saw in the shop, and Kate. It was just a really lovely day out. Went to Northern Yarns. There's also another yarn shop in Lancaster which is called Ethel and M, not Ethel and Me, Ethel and M, Ethel and M. And that's got kind of stationery in there and other bits and pieces as well. So two totally different yarn shops, and I want to show you what I got in both of them. I'm going to start with what I bought in Kate's, because she quite often does a special yarn depending on the clip and what she can get her hands on locally. And for the 10th birthday she has done Loon, which is a sock yarn, which I'm always excited about, but also this is the colour pretty much of my trainers at the moment, and so I'm thinking trainer socks for this. It is 4-ply Lancastrian sock yarn, and it is coming in. It's a kind of heavy, light sport, 350 meters for 100 grams, and it is made up of 50% Aberfeld, which is a Textile BFL mix, 25% long, 5% Shetland, and 20% eco nylon, which I love. So this is a loom. It's got a really beautiful twist on it. I don't know if those fibres are me or the yarn, but it has got some nice fibrosity, let's say fibrosity about it. I love the skein band that she's given it as well, and there's a load of detail in there. So it had to be done. And this is also, I think I'm right, it's naturally dyed. Yeah. Loon. I know a few of you have bought this already because Kate released it on the website. It's got like decent hard wearing sock crunch to it, but I also suspect it's going to bloom and really soften up. So I'm looking forward to getting my needles into this. It will be knitted socks, knitted trainer socks. I might be able to get a couple of pairs out of it as well. So I got that, and then I also have topped up a few extra mohairs because I don't think I had these ones in my stash. So I got Novita Edith, which I want to have a play with, and that is, I think it's a fairly standard floof, 25 grams, 225 meters, 70% mohair, 30% silk. So the exact same blend as that really expensive Stephen and Penelope one that I got the other week. So this is going to go head to head with it. I think this is about £3 cheaper for the ball. And then there was also, she had Rosarius for Aurora, which I don't think I've got in my stash, but now that I think about it, I might have, but I love the colour anyway. And that again is a fairly standard weight, 70% kid mohair, 30% silk, 25 grams, 210 meters, so slightly heavier, but two different floofs to try out. At some point that blog post will all pull together and I'll have lots of mohair content for you. So that's everything that I bought from Kate from Northern Yarn. I will have popped some footage in so you can have seen the shop and what she's got going there, and I'll pop links in as well. And then, like I said, we also headed over to the yarn shop to Ethel and M, and I found a new sock yarn over there that I had never come across, and it's a British brand. Have you come across Luca S? I hadn't, never seen this brand before. It is specifically a sock wool. It's called Wool and Walk. They were established in 1992 apparently. It is 205 meters for 50 grams. It's got a really decent twist on it. It feels nice. It is a superwash, and it's made in the EU, and it is made of 75% wool, 25% polyamide. So I got one in that colour. The price point was really good on this as well. I think it was like don't quote me, it was maybe like £5 for 50 grams. But are you ready for this? There was also like the most fabulous licorice all sort load as well. So the plain one that I'm showing up is colour 34, and I just thought stripy socks, smooshing these two together would be really good fun. The licorice all sort one is colour 218 and it is called Kaleidoscope. I kind of couldn't walk away from that. It was just too much fun, and I just think these two together will make a really fab pair of socks. And a yarn that I've never come across before from another British company, so very happy to support, test them out and feedback. It smells really sheepy, so at some point these will get hooked on, but they were like a little... I was not meant to be buying more sock yarn, but I just look at the licorice all sortness of it. I couldn't say no to that. I just love it. And then I also bought from there Again, another floof that I had not come across. This is Cardigan, their Kid Silk Mohair. It's 72% mohair, 28% silk. I nearly said milk there. It's not milk, but you can get milk yarn, milk-based yarn. It's 25 grams, 210 meters, and yeah, just that's another one to test out in the massive floof blog post. I really like Cardigan yarn. The price point is amazing on it, and it's really nice to work with. I've got a couple of balls of their Merino as well, which I really like, so I was keen to get hold of that. And then this one is very much not my normal colour. Are you ready to be surprised? Because you will not look at this yarn and think that is a Fay colour, but oh, I love it. It's reading a lot darker than it is. It is neon pink, and I flaming love it. This is again another it's another Rosario's 4 yarn, and it's in the Brew, and it is a mohair, but it's a chunkier mohair. So 50 grams is 120 meters, so like a DK, and it is 60% mohair, 40% merino, which is slightly different. And this, I think, is going to be paired up with a Raumagarn floof that I got for a hat, because those two together are just amazing. I bought this because I knew I could pair it with this, which was existing. The Raumagarn floof, again, I bought because it's a different one. It's got alpaca and linen in it. It's a slightly different weight, but I don't think it's enough that I need to be concerned about it. And it is 40%, 48% alpaca, 44% linen, 8% wool. So for those of you that aren't into mohair but want a mohair type in a slightly thicker floof, the Raumagarn alpaca linen might do it for you. But look at those two together. It just makes me think of the late 80s, early 90s, where neon was everywhere, and I had it on my jeans and on my tops. I loved rocking denim and denim and neon when I was like 11, 12 years old. It was a look. Yeah. Bet you didn't think I would want that colour, did you? It's not teal. I think that's me. I think I'm done. That was a bit of a whirlwind. As ever, hit me up in the comments. Tell me what you're working on. What yarn are you working on? Have you come across Luca S. Wool before? How did I not know about it? And yeah, what are you up to? Are you going to come to the John Arbon Mill Open weekend? Am I going to see you there? I'll also give you details nearer the time of the online one that they do, because if you live abroad, you're not going to be coming to Devon in a couple of weekends' time. But I'll give you the details of the online one, which is open to everybody worldwide, free of charge, so you can come and join in on that one instead. Right, until 2 weeks' time, lovely to see you, lovely to have you here. I am waving. Bye bye.